Well, ultimately, people should study history because you learn from the past. Humanity has a very long, complicated tapestry. The earliest human history in Ontonagon County was the Native Americans, of course. And we had the ancient miners several thousand years ago who came up here and mined copper during the summer. They left during the winter. They didn't stay over in the winter. Snow was too deep. And it's still a bit of a mystery as to exactly who the ancient miners were. When the Europeans started moving into America, and the Native Americans in this area, the Anishinaabe, were already here. And the first big industry that the Europeans brought was the fur trade industry all across the Lake Superior Basin. Not a whole lot else happened here in terms of modern developments until after the Toledo War. The Toledo War happened down in Ohio. Ohio was already a state, Michigan was still a territory, and they had a dispute over ownership of the Toledo Strip. And they went so far as to form up the militias facing off against each other, so it's called the Toledo War. But nobody actually died from the war. Federal government stepped in. They said, we're going to resolve this thing for you guys. Ohio, you get the Toledo Strip. Michigan, how about we make you a state, and wouldn't you like to have a complete Upper Peninsula? So Michigan already had the eastern part of the UP, but they didn't have the western part. So to resolve that Toledo War dispute, the western part of the UP was removed from Wisconsin territory and attached to Michigan. A lot of people wonder why the UP isn't part of Wisconsin, and that's why it was the Toledo War. Michigan became a state January 26, 1837, and shortly thereafter, exploration of the western UP happened. Nobody really knew in detail what was in the western UP, so the state of Michigan hired geologist Douglas Houghton. That's who the community of Houghton is named after. And he came up and explored the western UP, and he found minerals in abundance, and in particular in this area he found copper. So copper was the big reason for modern development in our area. First big copper mine in Ontonagon County was 1848, and that was the Minnesota mine, and that was the most profitable mine of the early mines in Ontonagon County. And then Ontonagon County also has the last copper mine, big commercial mine, and that was the White Pine mine. So the copper story kind of started and ended in Ontonagon County. It started with the Ontonagon boulder, which was a large mass of native copper, and all kinds of the people moving into the area wanted to find that boulder and start developing copper mines. So after the copper mines came in, the next big industry to move in was logging. And then shortly thereafter, we had logged over lands. The farmers moved in. So you had fur trade, copper, logging, farming, and then because copper mines needed a port, you also had maritime industry, and that's where the town of Ontonagon came in, because that was the shipping port for the copper mines. And then last came the tourism industry. And now today the big two industries remaining are logging and tourism. And tourism has grown tremendously in recent decades. The natural resources are fantastic. I mean, we've got water of every kind in abundance. So like I happen to be a kayaker, so I do all kinds of kayaking, rivers, lakes, big lake, everything. We've got spectacular scenery. A lot of people think of Michigan as being flat, but if you come to this part of Michigan, we've got mountains.